Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Dinks with Kinks. Before we get into tonight's episode, I want to remind all you cool cats and kinky kittens that we are in fact on that social media at Dinks with Kinks, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Reach out to us, say hello. Before we get into tonight's episode, I just want to change it up a little bit. From the great southern state of Maine, are we ready to rumble? In this corner, weighing in at no one's going to ever know with his sultry, sexy voice, the Shepherd.
Good evening, I think. We'll see.
And in this corner, weighing in at, well, not nearly enough, but just right, with the navel of death, the Rebecca.
Hello,
and I am
everyone.
your host.
She couldn't do it. She broke.
And I am your host, John Ondero. Let's get ready to rumble.
It was the
Guys,
navel
I'm sorry,
of
I had to
death.
do that.
I think that was it. Like
Navel of death.
like what?
Yeah, the bottomless navel of death. Guys,
Right,
I'm a little wrestle crazy tonight. You know, I'm getting my old like 80s vibes. I'm ready to come out here and Hulk out. Just rip off my shirt and ready to go. I think we should tear right into this episode.
I'm ready to tear it up. Whoa!
Oh my!
Hey, I
Shep, are you ready to bust a
a
seam?
Yeah. Oh yes.
I always do.
This is a particularly tear this shit up. This is a fun kink tonight. Tonight we were talking about tearing off clothes. And I mean, who doesn't like that?
Yay!
If people who are not familiar with this fetish and all the jokes we just made, go back and just Google the phrase Hulk Hogan. Like, right?
Oh,
Hulk
yeah.
Hogan. Yeah, no, that's Macho Man Randy Savage.
I don't know. I don't do the wrestling.
Listen here, brother.
I know. What was it? Woo! Whatever his name was, because he's from
Ric Flair.
area.
Woo!
Ric Flair.
I'm not a
Woo!
wrestle fan.
'Cause I have been
I'm not a wrestle
wooed
fan.
before. Somebody
You've been wooed
said,
before?
"Hey." So
I
I
don't-
said, "Why don't you woo me? Why don't you try and romance me and woo me?" And he looked me dead in the eye and goes, "Woo!" And I went, "And we're done."
Woo! Did he give you the people's elbow
Rebecca's
right
lying
after?
to us, though. I think she's lying to us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she is a brat, and so there's not a single brat I know that doesn't do the wrestling.
Oh well, I mean, there's that wrestling. That's
I'm just saying.
I think
you said you weren't in. You didn't
we
do
did a whole
wrestling.
episode on wrestling.
Did we? Yeah.
Yes, we did. Yeah, wrestling as a fetish is a very popular fetish.
yeah, with the.
But
it was
tonight
very
we're
popular
gonna
with
be-
the gay men, right?
Absolutely, gay and straight men, because a lot of people get into like the power struggles of it's big power play. But tonight, I think we're going to be a little more primal. So when I think of ripped clothing, I just think of Hulk Hogan. But I think this is a much more primal fetish, a much primal kink. It is very much passion filled. Whether you're doing this as just like, I want you so bad, I cannot wait for you to take your clothes off. If you're role playing CNC, if you're doing a Dom sub playthrough, or just being primal, this is a kink that I think,
Or you just ain't got
everyone's a
the
little
time
bit-
for those clothes to be in the way.
I think this is a kink that literally every facet of fetish and kink, you can find it in there. I mean, even in the pantyhose fetish, I like to tear open pantyhose. That's my thing. I love it. That's why I like to full pantyhose, because stockings you can't tear open. They're already open. I love to tear. Just rip them open like a present. Have you guys ever had clothing ripped off of you?
I have not, even though I'm a primal sub, because I don't know. I have taken clothes off very forcefully before, but I have never been with anybody who has ripped my clothes off or I've ripped their clothes off. I think it's because our clothes are like I don't have a lot of money, so we sew them like and that would have to be like we buy a Goodwill shirt and that like just for the purpose of this is my tear the buttons off them shirt.
I was about to say, I was like, unless you're buying your lingerie at Goodwill, which it just doesn't seem like a really good idea, used lingerie. Yeah, I would say this is one of those things where you gotta have some money to spend.
Oh no. You want some good rippers? You go to the Goodwill value store, where those where those clothes are like $1.39 a pound.
There you go.
Them some rippers.
And for those who are listening from across the nations and the world and they don't have a Goodwill is a thrift store, one of those very inexpensive. The t-shirts are 99 cents. Like it's a thrift store. So for those who don't know what a Goodwill is, I'm going to explain that because some people across the world may not know what that is.
Across the pond, as it were.
Across the pond, to the far west and the far east. Yeah, you're right. So thrift store, so used clothing. This is this could be a very costly fetish, but I think it's a very fun one. It is, and we're going to cover like really the primal roots to it. And I don't know anybody who hasn't just wanted to have a button-up shirt down and just pull as hard as you can to see how far you can get the buttons to shoot. I've actually always wanted someone to do that to me. I've never experienced it. Well, okay, I've never experienced it in a sexual manner. I have done it myself when I was done with a shirt, just because I am a child and that's what I do. If I'm done with a dress shirt, I am ripping it open with buttons and all. I think I've done it at more at work than I have at home.
Like the Hulk.
Absolutely.
I have never had it done, and I've never done it. I've always wanted to. So with the button-up shirt thing, but there was actually a TikTok video because I'm on the TikToks. Is that there was a video going around where a guy was ripping a man's dress shirt off of his female partner, and he was doing it incorrectly. So it was like he was ripping it and was struggling with it. And so like literally it was a trend for a long time amongst the kink community of these people who put on these button-up shirts and showed him how to properly rip off the shirt. I was like, okay, well, this is a thing. All right, got it.
Walk us through how you properly do it.
Oh, God, I don't even know. There were so many different variations.
Like, give us can you think of one? Give us a good variation.
From the middle, just take it from in the middle and just rip it apart. And then there's one from the top of the collar where you grab the collar and rip down. Yeah, those are the two popular ones. I don't remember how he did it, but he did it wrong, and it was like he was struggling with it, and everybody's like, no, you do it this way. And I was going, okay, apparently there's a lot of ways to rip off a button-up shirt. Wasn't aware. I'm a busty woman, so I popped them off. I popped them off naturally, so I don't know.
Have you ever popped a button with your boobs?
Yes.
I was like, if it's a button-up shirt, then aren't you supposed to take them off one button at a time with your teeth?
Well, then you choke on it.
I mean, if you get overexcited, maybe.
Well, yeah, because there's all manner of ways to tear off clothing. I think if we're going to really get into like this as a whole, we can talk about like the different ways to remove clothing by force. Of course, yeah, there is the buttons you pull in two separate directions. Buttons come apart. Chewing through a pair of clothing, like something lacy or like nylon. Or I still don't recommend biting off buttons because I see that as a choking hazard.
And just cover some of the safety hazards. No, everyone, flames are not a good way to get clothing off. No. Just making sure.
Fabric melts. Fabric really does melt. But knife play. Remember when we covered the knife play episode?
Yes.
Part of the fun thing is cutting someone's clothes off. I think that falls in this. Also, but yeah, definitely don't use fire.
I guess it counts. Wouldn't that be more cutting instead of tearing?
It would. Well, I think it depends on how you cut it off. Because when I think of like when we talk about tearing the clothes off and this fetish and all that, I don't picture a very precise thing. I picture this being a very passion-filled, violent effort. And I don't mean violent as in like harmful. I mean violent as in quick and expedient.
It's like, yeah, don't throw them around the room trying to get that shirt.
No. I meant like I forcibly remove this item from you in a quick fashion. But I guess you could tear off clothes slowly. Oh, go ahead.
They make it look easy in the movies. Like they you know how like in the movies there's a lot of clothing tearing. That's what makes it really hot. Is the just they rip the clothes off. It's especially a t-shirt. I mean, I haven't ripped it off of somebody's body, but I've made t-shirts into rags before, and it's not easy to rip a t-shirt. Like, I need a starting point.
No, actually, as someone who I used to work in the film industry, and we had to film a couple scenes where people rip clothes, and then like rip clothes ourselves and props. It's prop clothes. Like those things are actually de-stressed in such a way that you can't tell. You can buy rip-away shirts, dress shirts that have one thread through the buttons. Like they are just barely hanging on. A lot of times they're not even hanging on. A lot of times button-up shirts, they're actually like the metal buttons where they click and pull. They're lies. It's like a clip-on tie, a button fly, like a snap button shirt that looks like a button-up shirt, and you just pull it apart. And the buttons are usually, the sound of the buttons hitting everything are usually recorded in a studio. Someone just dropping a bunch of buttons on the floor. And then the sound's added in later. A little bit of movie magic for you. Yeah. Ripping a t-shirt actually is very difficult if you don't have a starting hole. So if you are you going to participate in this kink? Because there's not a lot of explaining about what this kink is or where it comes from. It's pretty simple kink. You're going to tear the clothes off your partner.
And I also thought of a kind of a funny version of maybe foreplay for this particular kink, in a sense where the partner might have like a little pair of scissors or something like that, and they make those little like starter rips or cuts in the shirt or the pants. I think that'd be kind of funny.
I can see where it, like, because I know for me, I cut up a lot of my t-shirts either to work out in, or that's the fashion that I'm wearing, and that it would be easier to rip that because it's already been cut up and there's already a starting point, and I'm half my body showing anyway. So
and also that could be a way of telling your partner it is okay to terrorize this particular shirt or something, because you already see a little starter cut in the collar, which of course the collar, depending on what it's made of, can be that hard spot to rip if you're trying to just rip it straight like that. So I think that'd be a cute thing of saying, yeah, this one's all yours. Take it.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I know there are there are plenty of strong lads and ladies out there who can tear through clothing without any starting strips. I am not one of them. And as Shep pantomimed, he is not one of them.
I need my helper slip. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So don't be discouraged if you're not one of those people. You think you could?
I feel like I could.
Okay, next time we're in person, we're going to make a video. We'll post it on social media. We're gonna make our own TikTok of you ripping a button shirt off of me.
I could do it. Deal.
Okay.
Deal. I feel like I could do it.
Okay, and we'll post it on our social media. Okay. Our next live appearance, I think, is in June. So.
Yes, it is.
It is. If you're listening to us, you can come see us in Charlotte, North Carolina. We'll all be there at Con Carolinas. And if you haven't if you don't know about that, come to watch our live streams at twitch.tv/thedonjaro every Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. And you can see these lovely faces, and we can talk about more behind the scenes kink and whatnot. So it's a lot of fun. Oh, absolutely. And yeah, this fetish should be, this kink should very much be consulted between two partners before you do it. Because if I didn't know you were going to rip off my shirt and I wore something fancy, I'm going to be quite cross with you. That's going to take me out of the mood. So this is something, communication is very, very strong for, because consent doesn't always necessarily mean sexual gratification and permission for that. Consent is just respect of one's property. So
yes.
Don't go to your partner and just some of
my shirts and my dresses, because my dresses have buttons, or my skirts, because you're not just ripping shirts. Like some of your skirts are button up, or, like I spent my hard-earned money on that. So I need to be wearing something that I don't mind not having.
Mm-hmm. Same. I have some dress shirts. If you tear in them, or t-shirts, if you tear in them, I'm gonna be a cranky a cranky wanky. There'll be no cranky wanky. Yeah.
Did you just say cranky wanky? Is that
cranky
what I
wanky?
heard? Cranky wanky.
I don't think my wanky has ever gotten cranky at me, but
well, you've never
Can
had
your
an
wanky get
expensive.
cranky?
I mean, it gets cranked sometimes, but I mean, not cranky.
I mean, if I'm hot and we're into it, we're still getting our freak on, but I'm gonna be cranky about it. So yeah,
And it
cranky
becomes
wanky,
a different style of sex.
Yeah, it becomes angry sex. Be like, that was a really expensive shirt. And don't injure your partner. There is some very dangerous things that you can do when you're ripping clothes off. Threads can cut into somebody. You're not always aware of it, but like when you pull stuff and threads come through, if anybody's never had a thread cut, they've never sewn anything with a sewing machine, because I have been sliced open with thread moving too fast to a sewing machine. I have been tearing fabric for craft stuff and have cut myself with thread doing that. So there is risks. So know what you're ripping, know what you're tearing.
You can bruise somebody too, can't you? Like I would feel like if you're pulling at their, especially if you're like pulling at their collar, and if the collar's a tighter, you could bruise their neck, and that would be like, it'd be very painful, cause whiplash or a concussion if you're pulling hard enough and you jerk them hard enough. So yeah.
Oh, could you imagine smacking heads? They're right in front of you. You pull the shirt and you just pull their head right into yours, and you bump heads. I could see that happening 100% with me.
Yeah. So for anyone that wants to maybe try this out, don't be afraid to actually test out some tears and your tear ability. So maybe you don't go crazy with your first attempt and cause some damages.
I mean, I love this, because this is one of those fetishes where it's definitely, like, for me personally, it is a night of flirting. It is a night of coy games, looking across from each other. And like, by the time I can get my hands on you, I'm like an animal. I'm just going to tear through you. Like I'm going to be a small child at Christmas, and you are that new video game system. You are that new bicycle. You are that gift I have been waiting all year for. So if I'm tearing into your clothes, it's because we spent all night long teasing and flirting and just driving each other wild. And I'm like, no, you're mine. You are mine. And I'm going to tear into you at Christmas.
Knowing you, though,
I think.
go ahead.
But like I said, that's going to be communicated beforehand, because if you're wearing your nice clothes, I'm going to be like, no. If we're going to spend all night flirting and playing, you wear that outfit that you don't mind me opening like a Christmas present. And I think that's very important when you have these kind of situations, is the communication beforehand. It may ruin a little bit of the illusion, but if this is a kink that you enjoy, it makes it so it goes really well.
I Well, on the flip side of that, like as a primal sub, as somebody primal, I can see it where it's not just teasing. It's very much a power struggle. Like it's not, it's animalistic. It's very much you're ripping your shirt, like, or you rip their shirt, and it's dominance. Like, because when you're ripping somebody's shirt, it's like it's animalistic. I mean, it's not just the teasing. It's this is part of the hunt. It's part of the power struggle. The I'm dominating you and you will be naked. And that's, for me, that's the appeal of it. It's not necessarily the teasing part of it. It's the, you will be naked. I want to be at your body. Your body is mine. Like that whole appeal. I think that's where it's a turn on for me, is they can't wait. They are so turned on by me. Like they can't wait to get to my body. Like that.
It is my duty to get to that booty.
Right.
I like that. And I think that's why I love this fetish or this kink so much. Is there's so many reasons to do this. Like different scenarios in which this is.
And there's this one scenario that's haunting me right now with it, because I would be like, this is so John if he ever did it. Seeing you come into a room or something like that, and first thing you would notice is that you slit the holes in the shirt right at the nipples. So you got your nipples just popping out of the shirt, ready to be torn into. I'm like, no, John, no. I'll keep saying it in my head right now. Ugh.
You know what? Yep, I could see me doing that. And I could see me, even though I wasn't a wrestling fan, I could absolutely see me entering the room like Hulk Hogan. And if you're too young to remember what Hulk Hogan is, Google it. I'm telling you, it's going to be the best day of your life. And just coming into the bedroom and be like ripping it up and be like, we're doing this, brother.
He cheated, though, because oftentimes his shirts always had slits in them already, ready to go.
Oh, I would to rip a t-shirt, I'd already have a hole poked. If I walk into a bedroom and there's a small hole in my shirt, you know I'm about to Hulk out on you. I'm going to Hulk Hogan all up on you. And that's probably why I don't have sex that often. Because if you come into a room like Hulk Hogan, there's two outcomes. You're either going to have the best sex of your life, or you're going to watch, WWE. That's what's happening.
Either way, it's a good time.
Yeah, either way, it's going to be a great time.
Rebecca comes in with the rip shirt, and her little rip starts right at her navel there. Yeah.
It's the navel of death.
That navel of death. See, I was actually tied. I was tied between the navel of death or Rebecca, a.k.a. the squirter. And I was just like, which one? Yeah, which one is worse?
No, or it could have been Sinister Squirts. If you want to do like more of a devilish type.
Ooh, the
fire
Sinister
extinguisher.
Squirts.
You can call me the
Sinister
fire extinguisher.
Oh my Lord. But this is absolutely a fun kink. I think this is one of those things that no matter what you're doing for it, there's so much fun to be had. And like I said, other than the safety of knowing it's a rippable material, because, okay, for example, pantyhose. There's a brand that is being advertised right now called SheerTex. And they are infamously, I think... Yeah, you sent me that TikTok, and they're infamously unrippable. They're run resistant like Kevlar.
Wow! But what I'm hearing is the fact of you can do it. But what I'm hearing though is that we're gonna have another event for our Kink Olympics, the Tearaway.
The Tearaway. Yes.
Ooh, yes.
Ooh. Oh, I do have one a safety thing that is actually not physical. If you are thinking about wanting to do clothing tearing and you were talking about having that conversation with your partner, make sure that they are okay with it, especially the first time that they do it. I know, for me personally, if there has been some trauma in their past, if there has been trauma, then you need to really make sure, like, yeah, you're making out hard and heavy, or you're in that passion zone, and you do something, it could possibly be a triggering thing. Maybe not ripping the shirt, but the sound of tearing clothing or whatever. So that's sort of a major safety thing that a lot of people don't think about is, oh, well, it's hot. Yes, it's hot, but can also be triggering to some individuals. So I know for me, it isn't a thing, but I know that there are certain sounds that really trigger me, and they're innocent sounds and they're fine. But this is also one of those ones that could frighten somebody if there is either you're overly aggressive about it and they're not prepared for it, or if they've had trauma in their life and this could cause a triggering event. So that is why the conversation, like John said, not just making sure you're wearing the right clothing, but also making sure that they are in a mental and emotional state that can handle this type of kink, because they might not be able to. And though it seems very innocent, it could possibly not be. And so that's the caution and the safety warning that I personally would like to get out there, is just making sure that you and your partner are emotionally safe with this as well. So,
yeah, especially if like you have that kind of past, maybe that maybe your first attempt to confront it is a slow tear process. Just tear a little bit, gauge things a bit, tear a little bit more. Just keep checking in with yourself and your partner.
Of course. I mean, like, yes, with any of this thing beforehand, communication is not just good for making sure you're wearing the proper clothing, but making sure you're not triggering your partner, or, just some people are very particular about their clothing items. It has nothing to do with trauma, stuff like that. I find that if I'm going to tear something of my partner's, I would usually be the person who buys it for them. Just look into that. And I also want to make sure they're wearing something terrible, because terrible, like, it's able to be not terrible as in they're not good. Because I've had some very awkward moments, or both. I have had some very, like, those awkward moments where you can't tear them. Like I was telling that SureTech story. We got a pair, like me and my partner she was wearing pantyhose, and I was going to tear them open. And now it's like 3 minutes in, and I am still struggling just to get a little hole in these to tear them. And I'm like, this is getting weird. This is just embarrassing. So, yeah, a little pre-planned, a little bit.
Yeah. And since there can be some crossover and accessories used in the tearing process, we'll cover the full safety gambit of saying, if there's ever going to be scissors involved, try to make sure they're the medical ones, because those have those rounded bottoms, not pointed. So
fabric scissors
less likely
as well.
to accidentally hit the skin. Mm-hmm. If you intend to use a blade, point the blade point away from the body, and make sure dull side is also facing towards the skin, or away from the skin, not towards it. I'm split tonight. My dyslexia.
Let's not get into a little bit of knife play and blood play unless that's your thing, and then do it safely. Listen to those episodes available on Dinks with Kinks anywhere you listen to the podcast. If you heard my voice just say that, you're kind of aware. But yeah, this is a fun fetish. It's or kink. I don't know if this is necessarily a fetish. Like, I didn't find a lot of stuff where it was very fetish related. I'm sure it is because of Rule 34. But, like, I definitely see this more as a kink than a fetish. Maybe like an add-on to a fetish.
Yeah. Or maybe like primal foreplay.
Like I said, primal fetish, tearing clothes. Pantyhose fetish, tearing pantyhose. CNC fetish, ripping clothes. I see this as an addition to fetishes, not so much a fetish on its own.
I like we've role reversed a little bit there, because normally it's me. It's like, are we sure that's a fetish? That sounds like porn. Or that sounds like kink. I like it that it's somebody else this time. Thank you.
And I think it was just because that's when I was looking up research for this, like where all it involves into. It seems like it's very much like in addition to this fetish, the clothing ripping kink is a primary kink of this. It's just like people who like impact play typically like sub-dom relationships, bondage, spanking. They like things like that. So it's like one of those addendum. It's an addendum kink.
They like big butts and they cannot lie.
Well, you other brothers can't deny. When a girl walks in with a kink will, I have my kink will.
Oh, you have your kink will?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was chewing.
Walks in,
I was like, I didn't want to chew in your
has
ear.
the kink will. Has a kink will. They spin it, and we find out what we're talking about next week.
I know almost every word of that song.
I do too. I'm like, I'm gonna get copyrighted.
I'll chew it in his ear while he spins the wheel.
Spinning that wheel. We're getting close to wrapping up the season. I'm pretty excited.
Oh, wow.
Really? Already?
Oh, no. Oh, no, 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 no.
Oh, no.
The face.
Oh, no.
So there's not many times that we come upon something that was recommended by one of our fans outside of our normal Dinks with Kinks community. But this next week's fetish comes from the wonderful land of Dondero streams. Something that we have made many jokes about, many fun things that we weren't aware.
It's UCal, isn't it?
It's UCal. It's now a growing popular trend. Ladies and gentlemen, next week we're going to the milking table. And we discovered this fetish. Yes, you are. We discovered this fetish through our parent company, Dondero Streams. While streaming, somebody sent us a link, and they're like, "You guys want a good laugh?" And then we're like, "We're not laughing. We're interested. This is going on the wheel."
It became a thing. It became a thing. That's where my new nickname came in.
A Moogs.
A Moogs.
Mm-hmm. So next week, I am so excited.
So we're going to make some good memories.
Hugh cows. And if you don't know what that is, you're going to want to tune in next week, because I got to tell you, this is probably one of the most interestingly, I don't want to say bizarre, because but it's new, but it's very trending right now. It's very popular. Mm-hmm. But when I first, I was like, what? In a very excited tone. So absolutely. Before we end tonight's episode, now. I am too. I'm giddy. I just want to be like, let's not live stream. Let's do this episode now. Because I know all the things. I want to remind everyone to follow us on that social media. We want you to reach out to us. We want you to fill in the blanks where we missed on an episode. Come talk to us. Interact with us. Tell us, hey guys, can you cover this fetish? And if we have covered it, I'll point you to the episode. And then you listen to it and you say, well, you didn't talk about this. And then we add it back to the wheel. Mm-hmm. And if we haven't covered it, it goes on to the wheel. That's how we do it. So reach out to us. Talk to us. Say, hey, you're doing a good job. And make sure, wherever you're listening to this podcast, if there's a rating system, rate it. Give us them 5 stars. We love them stars. We look at them stars and we go, yay, more people can see the podcast. And we can't do that without listeners like you guys. So thank you so much for all that you do already. Do a little bit more, and we'll love you even more. We're gonna Fendom the shit out of you.
Still,
I am your host.
Just in disbelief, though, that we're going from pony play to Moo Mania.
Is pony play on there?
It will be now. We got puppy play.
Wait, puppy play, but not pony play.
We're gonna cover all the animals.
Here we go. I'm adding pony play to the wheel right now.
You're welcome, pony players.
Yeah, that's right.
I actually have a story about pony play.
I am your host, John Dondero, and with me, as always, the very smooth-voiced man who you all kind of wish they would rip your clothes off, Mr. Shep.
Till next time.
And a woman who makes UCal the most awesome thing in the world, Rebecca, a.k.a. Moogs.
Good evening, everyone.
Moogs. Good night, everybody.